Demand more. Get Allmax.
Okay, we're back here talking about the top 5 submissions in mixed martial arts. One of my most favorite techniques in the history of my career training Jiu-jitsu and fighting in MMA is the triangle choke. And we're going to get into some of the setups of that, some of the applications that make the triangle choke effective, and hope you enjoy. Alright guys, so the triangle choke, just generally speaking, is when I have my legs around his arm and his head, basically forming a triangle, cutting off the circulation through his neck using my legs. What makes this kind of choke effective is, from fighting on my back, most people on top, when they're trying to punch you or do damage, they forget about what can happen to them down here, so it becomes easy for me to pass my leg, pass his arm, and finish the choke. Okay? So, with that in mind, I'm going to start with the most simple and most basic way we can drill this. Oftentimes guys are down here and they're kind of hugging my hips here at their legs. So I'm going to hold the back of his head to make sure he can't posture up, control his wrist, and I'm going to put his wrist into his chest. At the same time I put his wrist into his chest, I open my leg wide, I pass it over his shoulder, and I lock my feet. I don't get particular with how I lock my feet at this point. I just get my legs locked and control his head. So now you can see one arm is in, one arm is out. Now once I get here, I have to finish the move, so I have to get his arm across the front of his neck to help cut the circulation off. So I lift my hips high, I give up his head for a second, I keep my hips off the mat. You can see the space here. I feed the arm by pushing his elbow. I feed it across his face, across my hips, and then I pull him back down and control his head. So every time I finish the triangle, let's turn this way a little bit. Every time I finish the triangle, I want to have my hand on the back of his head, also trapping his arm at the same time, so he can't pull his arm back out. If I was here, he can bring his arm back across and I'm going to lose the choke. So hips up, arm across, control the head. Now I have to make my adjustment and get my feet locked properly. So this foot here, the outside leg is going to go to his hip, and I'll pivot my body, bringing my shin, my leg here, my calf, across the back of his shoulders. Okay? Once I do that, passing my leg over the top is going to be nice and easy. And I squeeze, I lift my hips and pull. So back of the head, wrist, open, pass. Now right away my hips come up, push the arm across, pull down, control the head. Now I put the foot on the hip and I pivot my body. See this turn? My leg is across the back of his shoulder blades. I pass the leg, finish. Let's see a couple more times, real speed. Alright, so we just learned the basic triangle choke. I want to point out a few things that we need to be careful of as far as a real fight situation or an MMA situation. Once I pass my leg over the top and I lock here like this and my hips come up, I got to be aware that he can be punching me with that far hand. So I block my face, I push his arm across, I control his head. Now as I make this adjustment, I might have to block get the inside of his bicep and defend the punch and control this arm kind of at the same time. So I have head, arm, arm. I'm doing lots of things here with my right hand. Okay, pivot, lock, and finish. Once I start to apply, same thing. If he's still trying to punch, I got to be ready to defend. This is what people forget about. I eat one hard shot, boom, my leg's open, he pulls out, I lose a move. Okay, so let's start from the top again. I open, defend the punch, finish. So I can go here. Once he quits trying to punch and he starts worrying more about defense, I hold the back of his head and I put 2 hands on one. Alright guys, we just talked about the basic triangle. So now once you start drilling the triangle a lot and you start getting the move down, it's good to start talking about setups, because the more experience your training partners get, the more experience your opponents get, the harder it's going to be to catch a triangle, and it's going to come down to a little bit more of like trickery and putting them in a situation that they have to give you the triangle or something else worse might happen. So from here, triangle, basic posture here, he's got a good body position. I'm going to sit up this way like I'm going for what I would call a sit-over sweep, where I go over his shoulder, I rock up, and I sweep. I kind of modify that. I'm going to hold, when I go around this way and I sit up, I'm going to go to this side of his head. I'm going to get to my hand. I create a little bit of an angle here, you can see hand, and then I hug his body, and I'm going to turn my whole body this way, getting him to post his hand on the floor. Once I feel that post happen, I sit my hips back and I snap his head down this way by passing my leg over the top. And again, I lock, and the finish is all the same. Hips up, arm across, hug the head, finish, and of course defending punches if he's going to come through. Okay? So this kind of setup can happen whether he's down low or he's up tall. It doesn't matter. If he's down low, I'm going to have to create a little bit of an angle, get up on my elbow first, but again, I'm going to headlock him and I'm going to throw him that way. Not straight to the side, not straight back, but more kind of like a 45-degree angle. So I'm on my elbow, I've got to get up on my hand, and I'm going to go hard this way. I'm bringing my hips on top of him, making him post. If he stayed holding on to me, I would end up in a mount position. Sometimes it's going to happen. Angle my hips, go to my elbow, go to my hand, pop my hips this way. Lock, hold right away. If it's a fight, I got to be ready for the punch right away. Push the arm across, hug the head, make the adjustment, finish. A little detail, notice this leg. It's kind of the driving leg. It goes down here. And I come up here. Right? Now, this leg slides up. This leg passes over the shoulder. And my feet right away lock. Doesn't have to be perfect yet. Hips up, arm across. Control the head, make sure I'm top of the arm here. If I can just make this adjustment like that by pulling my foot, I do it. If I need more space, pivot, pass, lock. Okay, we looked at the basic triangle application, some of the risks of getting punched, things like that. Making sure that when we do get the choke, we don't lose it. Arms across, we're cutting off the blood on this side of the neck with their own shoulder, and then our leg is cutting off the blood on this side of their neck with the inside of our thigh. And we squeeze, and you notice here, that's the triangle. That's where the body's at. The head and arm is stuck in there. So if you look at my right foot, I want to make sure my foot's not like that when I lock. I want to make sure the bend of my knee is right here, and that my foot is locked strong and doesn't open. That keeps it from sliding down. So once I get here, I pull my leg even closer. See the space close? And then I could always make a little bit of adjustment here. Squeeze. Alright, so with those basic details in mind, we have the sit-over sweep setup that I just showed, and now we're going to talk about the scissor sweep setup. The scissor sweep is one of my favorite sweeps. I'm not going to get into the details of that, but it's basically where my body's on an angle, and I use my top leg to kick over as the one part of the scissors, and the bottom leg is the lower part of the scissor. My hands here control control his arm so he can't post his hand out. You notice this motion here, when I do this, he's already putting his hand on the floor. The sweep itself, if he was going to be focused on holding me, and I can trap his arm up either here, or here, or here, doesn't matter, my sweep is going to bring me to the top position. So I'm going to use the scissor sweep. I put my foot on the floor, just like when I did the sit-over sweep. I put my foot on the floor, I angle my body, and I bring my knee up on an angle right here from his shoulder to his hip. That's the angle. My hand, I try to swim on the inside and control his elbow, or I can control from the outside. It doesn't matter so much because I'm going to use the sweep to set up the triangle instead of the actual sweep. I'm going to let this right leg slide down. My left leg will kick that way, my right leg will kick that way. Here like this, and I'll let go of his hand. So he posts his hand on the floor. Now with this sweep still kind of locked out, I'm still challenging the balance. Now my right leg will come first, over the top, and I lock the triangle. So first I create the angle here. I wait for the right time. I make the sweep attempt with my leg here like this, chopping, making him post. If he doesn't post, I'm on the mount. Now my right leg just pulls out. My feet lock. Finish is the same. Hips up, arm across, control the head, make the adjustment, beware of the punches in the process. Ooh. You could be trying to punch here. I'm blocking. I angle my body, get the little sweep. I go from here. This leg comes out and up. If you're not flexible, you just create a little bit extra space. I might not be able to do it from this bent position. You just got to pull away a little bit. Now your leg will come out easier. Then the left leg here straightens, and I just pull them back in. Oftentimes they're already going to be driving forward, so they're going to kind of fall right into the triangle. So a triangle choke, everybody in the sport of MMA is taught how to defend a triangle choke, how to prevent a triangle choke. If they have good coaches, of course, good instructors, they're going to learn how to see a triangle choke come. They're going to learn how to survive inside of a triangle choke. And I wanted to give you guys a little bit of one of the more common things that people do to survive inside of a triangle. Remember, I was explaining that when the arm comes across the neck here like this, and the leg comes here, that's how the triangle is happening. You're getting this V across the neck, this way and this way. That's how we get caught in the choke. So to survive it, if I put my arm over here, you notice if you push on one side of your neck, you can breathe just fine. If I push on this side, I can breathe just fine. If I push on both, I can't. So I want my arm, since I can't move his leg, it's already tight on my up top. I want to move my arm to the other side and survive. Notice what Joey does here. So I have a triangle locked. I got a good chance of finishing, but he's hugging my leg and he's opening his body up. So there's no pressure on this side of his neck. Okay? So getting this arm across, if he's locked and he's strong, I'm not going to be able to get this arm across. But I don't want to unlock my legs to make this adjustment and try to finish. So I want to keep my legs locked, keep the pressure. So here's what I'm going to do. Take my right arm. My right leg is over the top. Whatever leg is on top of his shoulder, use the same arm. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go down the side of his neck and turn his body this way using the forearm. I don't want to just frame him. I actually want to slide it across his neck and get good pressure on his chin and across the edge of his neck here like this. Once I get that, as I get him looking away, I pull his head down
with one hand, and then with my other hand I secure it, and my hips go up. So now what happens is his neck gets twisted, and by binding his neck, he basically chokes himself. So I got to keep his head looking this way and down. To do that, I got to make sure that when I push him, I don't go here and then let go. He'll straighten back out. I go here, I keep him looking, I pull with my legs, and I pull him down where he's weak. Once he's down here, my other hand comes into play and my hips go up. It's very easy to keep him here and make him tap. So that's a good survival technique that Joey just did, but that's a counter to his survival technique that I just showed. Alright, so you have a few different varieties of the triangle. You have the basic version, you have the sit-over sweep version, and the scissor sweep version. Very effective. Even if he knows it's coming, it comes down to a timing issue. Catching him in a situation where he has to make his choice whether or not he wants to get reversed or take his chances inside the triangle. Enjoy.